All right, let's dive in today. We're looking at Quantum Computing Corp, QUBT, for those in the know.
QBBT,
We
yeah.
want to see if it's worth our attention, if it's a stock that is worth investing in, and we've got a whole bunch of material,
Yeah.
company research, articles, all the financial data to really get a good look.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to go through a bunch of stuff like their business model and the management team, of course, the financials.
Of course, got to look at the financials.
So by the end, you'll have a really good understanding and see if you want to learn more about QUBT.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, later on we're going to talk about something pretty wild.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about the connection between quantum communication and the search for extraterrestrial life.
Okay, that's a new one. Quantum communication and aliens. All right, I'm interested.
I know, right? But first, let's get down to business.
Literally, yeah.
QUBT, it's a US-based company, and they're focused on quantum computing and AI software.
Right. So they're combining kind of the two hottest things in tech right now. Yeah. Quantum computing and AI.
And what's interesting is they're not tied to one specific type of hardware.
Right. They're taking a platform agnostic approach, which I think is pretty smart in such a, rapidly developing field.
So they're like the Switzerland
Yeah, the Switzerland.
of quantum computing.
Neutral but powerful. I like that.
Yeah.
And they offer a bunch of different things, like integrated quantum systems. They've got quantum LiDAR, which is being used in things like self-driving cars.
Oh, wow.
And this is where it gets really interesting. They offer these quantum-secured network solutions.
So like unhackable networks.
Potentially unhackable, yeah. Which would be amazing for, like, banking or anything that deals with sensitive data.
Yes, sign me up for that.
Right.
But their technology, it's called entropy quantum computing.
Or EQC.
EQC.
Yeah, it's all about making quantum computing, actually useful, practical, and less expensive, right?
Yeah.
Because right now it's very expensive. It's very difficult.
So trying to make it more accessible.
Exactly. They're using a photonic architecture, which means they're working with light particles. Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly complex, but imagine like trying to harness lightning.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of what they're doing with EQC,
It's about taming the Wild West
Yeah.
of quantum particles.
That's a good way to put it.
I also see that they're involved in something called foundry services.
Yeah. So they're working with other companies to produce these thin film lithium niobate chips.
TFLN.
Yeah, TFLN, exactly.
And those are a key part of quantum computing.
Absolutely, they're essential. So by being involved in foundry services, QUBT is kind of positioning themselves in a really strategic part of the supply chain.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, it's like owning the picks and shovels during a gold rush.
I like that. Okay, so we've got all this interesting stuff, but how big is this whole quantum computing world?
It's projected to be massive. I mean, we're looking at like $12.6 billion by 2032, and some estimates say it could reach $2 trillion. Trillion, yeah.
To the global economy by 2035.
Exactly. We're talking about a technology that could completely revolutionize everything.
Wow. And it's not just the big players, right?
No, not at all. We're seeing more and more interest from, small and medium-sized businesses across a whole bunch of industries.
Because they're realizing they need to get ahead of the curve.
Exactly. They're recognizing that even if they just adopt quantum computing early on, it could give them a big advantage.
So this isn't just like a far-off future thing?
No, it's happening now.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got this revolutionary technology, a market that's growing like crazy.
Yeah.
But what about the people at the top?
Yeah, the leadership.
Are they the right people to steer this ship?
That's a great question. So the CEO, Dr. William McGann, he's got a PhD in chemical physics and over 30 years of experience in commercializing tech.
Okay, so he knows how to build businesses.
Exactly. He actually founded this company called Ion Track Instruments.
Okay.
And they were later acquired by GE, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, General Electric.
Yeah.
So he's got a good track record.
Yeah, so that gives me some confidence.
Okay, so what about the money? Who's in charge of that?
That would be Chris Baumler, the CFO.
Okay.
And he's got an impressive resume. He's worked at Credit Suisse, Bridgewater Associates, Intelsat.
Wow, big names.
Yeah, big names, lots of financial experience, which is really important, in this kind of company.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the chairman, he's also the chief quantum officer.
Right, Dr. Yupin Huang.
So he's not just a businessman. He's like a real quantum expert.
Exactly. He founded QPhoton, which is a company that QUBT bought back in 2022.
Oh, okay.
And he's secured millions of dollars in research funding from DARPA.
Oh, wow. And NASA.
And NASA, yeah. So he's the real deal.
So we've got a CEO who knows how to build companies.
Yeah.
A CFO who's got the financial experience.
Yeah.
And then the chairman, who's also like a leading quantum expert.
Right.
Pretty good team.
Yeah, so far so good.
So what about the rest of the board? Are they all like seasoned veterans?
Well, the average tenure on the board is only 2 years. So that tells me there's been some recent changes.
So it's kind of a new board.
It's a relatively new board, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the numbers.
All right, let's do it.
The financials.
Yeah.
Are they as impressive as everything else we've heard?
Well, that's where things get a little tricky.
Okay.
So QUBT has a market cap of around $1.4 billion.
That's a lot.
It sounds impressive, right? But here's the thing. They're not profitable yet.
So negative PE ratio.
Exactly. Negative PE ratio. They're not making money yet.
So they're still investing a lot in R&D.
Yeah, they're putting a lot of money into research and development. But what about their revenue?
Yeah.
Are they at least bringing in some cash?
Yeah.
Well, it's growing, but it's still pretty low.
Okay.
In the third quarter of 2024, their revenue was just over $101,000.
Whoa. Okay, that's a very small number for a company with a $1.4 billion market cap.
Yeah, it does raise some eyebrows, doesn't it?
It does. And what about those profit margins? Are those looking any better?
Not really. Their gross margin is 22.80%, which isn't terrible.
Okay.
But their operating margin is, get this, negative 6,114.51%. And their profit margin is even worse.
Even worse.
Negative 6,255.70%.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are some serious negative numbers.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
So what's going on here? Are they just burning through cash?
Well, they are spending a lot on R&D, like you said, which is, normal for a company at this stage, especially in a field like quantum computing.
Right. They're trying to innovate, stay ahead.
Yeah, but it does make you wonder, how long can they keep this up?
Yep. A balancing act, right?
Exactly.
High risk, high reward.
Right.
Their debt-to-equity ratio is pretty low, though.
It is, yeah, which is a good sign.
So at least they're not drowning in debt.
Right, they're managing that well.
Any other red flags we should be watching out for?
Well, their free cash flow is negative.
Oh, that's not good.
It means they're spending more cash than they're bringing in.
Which can't last forever.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that leads to the big question.
The big question, yeah.
Is QUBT overvalued?
Some analysts think so.
Really?
Yeah, they point to, the low revenue and the high price to sales ratio.
So basically, the stock price is way higher than what they're actually earning.
Exactly.
But isn't that the case for a lot of young companies, especially in these hot new tech sectors?
That's true. It's a common thing in emerging tech.
Everyone's chasing the next big thing.
Yeah, so there's always that risk.
But also that potential.
Right. It's about balancing that risk and potential.
Okay, so we've covered the business model, the team, and those interesting financials.
Yeah, they're definitely interesting.
What's the overall feeling about QBT in the market?
It's a mixed bag, to be honest.
Okay.
The one analyst covering the stock right now has given it a buy rating.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah, with a price target of 8.50.
Okay, so they think it's going to go up.
They think it's going to go up, yeah. But there's a big but.
What's the but?
Volatility.
Volatility.
Okay. The stock price has been all over the place.
Up and down.
Yeah, I mean, in the past year, it's been as high as 27.15 and as low as, get this, 35 cents.
Whoa. Okay.
Big swings.
Huge swings.
Yeah, that's a roller coaster ride.
Why is it so volatile?
Well, part of it is just the nature of the industry.
Quantum computing.
Yeah, it's a new industry, a lot of hype, a lot of speculation.
Right. Any little piece of news.
Any little piece of news can send the stock flying up or crashing down.
So it's hard to predict.
Very hard to predict.
And then there's the short interest.
Ah, yes, the short interest.
You mentioned that some investors are actually betting against QUBT.
Right. They're shorting the stock.
Why would they do that?
There could be a few reasons.
Okay.
Maybe they think the stock is overvalued.
Yeah.
Maybe they're skeptical about, how quickly quantum computing will actually become a big thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have concerns specifically about QUBT's business model.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
So a lot of uncertainty around QUBT.
There is, yeah.
Okay, so who's behind QUBT? Who are the major players?
Let's look at the ownership structure.
Okay.
One thing that stands out is that institutional ownership is pretty low.
Institutional ownership.
Yeah, like big investment firms, hedge funds, pension funds.
All right.
It's only around 4.26%.
Okay.
Which is a lot lower than some of QUBT's competitors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, companies like IonQ and D-Wave Quantum have much higher institutional ownership.
So why are the big institutions staying away from QUBT?
Well, it could be a few things.
Okay.
Maybe they're not convinced by the financials.
Yeah, those profit margins are pretty scary.
Right.
Maybe they're not sure if QUBT can compete with the bigger players,
Yeah, they're up against some giants.
like IBM, Google.
Exactly. Companies with a ton of resources.
So maybe they're just being cautious.
Yeah, big institutions tend to be risk-averse.
They want to see more proof before they invest.
Makes sense.
So if the big institutions aren't investing much, who is?
Well, insider ownership is higher. It's around 31.0%.
Insider ownership. So that's people who work at the company.
Exactly. Executives, board members, employees.
So they're buying the stock.
Yeah, which could be a sign that they believe in the company's future.
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Right.
But the majority of the ownership is actually with individual investors in public companies.
That's right.
Does that make the stock more volatile?
It could, yeah.
How so?
Individual investors tend to react more strongly to news and hype.
Oh,
They might buy or sell based on emotion rather than a careful analysis of the company.
So the stock price could swing more wildly.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've looked at the business, the team, the financials, the market sentiment, and the ownership structure.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Now it's time to take a step back
Yeah.
and assess the bigger picture.
The big picture. Okay.
What are the overall risks and opportunities for QUBT?
Risks and opportunities, all right.
Luckily, our source material has a SWOT analysis,
SWOT analysis, okay.
which is a great framework for this kind of assessment.
So SWOT stands for?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Okay, so it covers all the bases.
Yeah, it's a comprehensive view.
So let's start with the good stuff.
The strengths, all right?
What are QUBT's strengths?
Well, their technology is definitely a strength.
Yeah, we talked about that, the EQC platform.
Exactly, and their focus on room temperature quantum computing.
Right, so they don't need those expensive cooling systems.
Yeah, that's a big advantage.
Makes it more practical.
Exactly.
But it's her
Partnership.
partnerships, okay.
They're working with some big names.
Like who?
NASA, Johns Hopkins University.
Wow, okay.
So that gives them credibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Then it opens doors to new markets and funding.
Makes sense. Anything else?
Yeah, their focus on making quantum computing more accessible and affordable.
Right, not just for big corporations.
Exactly. They're targeting small and medium-sized businesses, too.
Smart move.
Yeah, could give them a real edge in the market.
Okay, so those are the strengths.
Yeah, but no company is perfect.
Right. Every company has its weaknesses.
Exactly.
So what are QUBT's weaknesses?
The most obvious one is their financial performance.
Yeah, we talked about that. The low revenue, the negative profitability.
Yeah, and their reliance on external funding.
Right. They're burning through cash.
It's a concern.
Any other weaknesses?
Their growth has been inconsistent.
Inconsistent. How so?
Well, the market for quantum computing is growing rapidly.
Yeah.
But QUBT's revenue isn't growing as fast as some investors might have hoped.
So they're not fully capitalizing on the market growth.
Right.
And I imagine their expenses are pretty high.
They are, yeah. All that R&D costs money.
So their operating expenses are a weakness.
Definitely a weakness.
Okay, so we've got the strengths and the weaknesses.
Now let's look at the opportunities.
Opportunities, okay.
The biggest opportunity is, of course, the successful commercialization of their products.
Yeah, if they can actually turn their technology into real-world solutions.
Yeah. Exactly. And if they can scale their operations effectively.
Right, they need to be able to grow.
Yeah, if they can do that, the potential for revenue growth is huge.
So it all comes down to execution.
It does, yeah. They have the potential, but can they deliver?
Big question.
What else? Expanding their market reach.
Market reach, okay.
The quantum computing market is global.
So they need to go international.
Exactly. They've already made some moves in Europe and Asia.
But they need to keep expanding.
Yeah, go global.
Okay, what else?
Their product development pipeline.
Oh, yeah, they're working on new stuff all the time.
Yeah, constantly innovating.
Which could open up new markets.
Exactly. They're exploring applications in drug discovery, materials science, even financial modeling.
So lots of potential avenues for growth.
Yeah, lots of potential.
But of course, with every opportunity, there's also risk.
That's right. Let's talk about the threats.
Threats? Okay. What are the biggest threats to QUBT's success?
Competition.
Competition. Yeah, we touched on that before. They're up against some serious players.
Yeah, the big tech companies.
Google, IBM, Microsoft.
Companies with way more resources than QUBT.
Yeah, and they're all investing heavily in quantum computing.
So QUBT needs to find a way to stand out.
They need to differentiate themselves, carve out their niche.
Otherwise, they'll get crushed by the giants.
It's a David versus Goliath situation.
What are their threats?
The regulatory landscape.
Oh, yeah. Quantum computing is so new.
There aren't really clear rules yet.
So it's a bit of a Wild West.
Yeah, and governments around the world are trying to figure out how to regulate it.
Which creates uncertainty for companies like QUBT.
Exactly. They could face unexpected challenges.
Yeah, legal hurdles, compliance costs.
It could slow them down.
And then there's the negative market sentiment.
Right, the short sellers.
That could really hurt their ability to raise money.
Yeah, if investors lose confidence.
It's going to be tough for them to grow.
Exactly.
So a lot of potential, but also a lot of risk.
It's a classic high-risk, high-reward scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But before we move on, remember that whole thing about aliens?
Oh, yeah, the alien connection.
Yeah, how does quantum computing relate to the search for extraterrestrial life?
It's all about quantum communication.
Quantum communication. Okay.
Imagine trying to communicate with a civilization light years away.
Yeah.
Traditional radio waves would take forever to reach them.
Centuries, right?
Centuries, millennia even.
Yeah, not very practical.
No, but what if we could use quantum mechanics to send messages instantly?
Instantly.
Yeah, regardless of distance.
But faster than the speed of light.
That's the idea.
Is that even possible?
It's theoretical, but it's based on a real phenomenon called quantum entanglement.
Quantum entanglement, okay.
Where two particles are linked no matter how far apart they are.
Whoa, okay.
So if we could entangle particles here on Earth with particles light years away,
yeah,
we could use them to transmit information instantly.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
It is, right?
But how would we even entangle particles over such vast distances?
That's the challenge. Scientists are working on it.
Okay.
One idea is to use lasers to shoot entangled photons into space.
Lasers, okay.
Aiming for distant star systems.
This is a long shot.
It is, but if it works, the payoff is huge.
So we could communicate with aliens in real time.
Potentially, yeah.
That's incredible.
It is.
But hold on, we were just talking about QBT's financials.
Yeah.
Which weren't exactly great.
Not great, no.
What does this alien communication stuff have to do with their business?
It's about the potential.
Okay.
QUBT is focused on quantum secured networks. Right. And they're experts in photonic technologies.
Which is light, right?
Exactly.
So the principles they're using for secure communication here on Earth
could also be applied to deep space communication.
Yeah. So while they're trying to protect our online banking,
they might also be paving the way for us to talk to aliens.
That's a pretty big leap.
It is, but that's the thing about quantum computing.
What's that?
We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, it's still early days.
What seems like science fiction today
could be reality tomorrow.
Exactly.
Okay, so for our listeners who are intrigued by QUBT,
yeah,
but also a little nervous about the risks.
Yeah, it's a risky investment.
What's your advice?
Do your homework.
Homework. Okay.
Don't just buy into the hype.
Right.
Read the source material.
Yeah, we've got links in the episode description.
And talk to a financial advisor.
Good advice.
Quantum computing is exciting.
It is.
But it's still early days.
Yeah.
There will be winners and losers.
So investors need to be careful.
Very careful.
Okay, well, that's our deep dive into QUBT.
It's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah, into the world of quantum computing.
A world of incredible potential.
And potential risks.
Definitely risks.
But for those of you who want to learn more about cutting-edge companies and technologies,
yeah,
be sure to subscribe to the Stock Analytics AI YouTube channel.
They've got great content.
Really insightful stuff.
For investors of all levels.
And remember, this deep dive is just for informational purposes.
It's not financial advice.
Always do your own research.
And make informed decisions.
All right, thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll be back next week with another exciting episode.